All right, guys, on the Scooby Gang minimalist appliques, we've got Shaggy up next. You are going to need 3 pieces of fabric. You're going to need a sandy blonde for the hair, some sort of peach flesh, and then green for his shirt. As always with appliques, you hoop up your stabilizer and your base fabric, or you float your shirt or your jacket or your vinyl, whatever you're going to be doing this on, and you throw it in the machine and you run color stop 1 for the placement. It's going to go his hair first, his face second, his shirt third, and there's one other color on this, and that's the word Zoinks is going to be done in a sunset orange. Color stops 1 through 6 can all be done in black. If you're on a multi-needle, you want to put stops in between each color stop. If you are on a single needle, you don't need to do that. I'll be back in a second with the placement line for the first piece of his applique. Okie dokie pokies, we've got the dye line for Shaggy's hair, and now we are just going to float a piece of fabric over that and do our zigzag tack down. And I will be back in a second to show you how to trim that out. Okie dokie folky, we got Shaggy's hair down, and we are just going to trim this out. Now, before you panic, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all of the ins and the outs and the... It's just like any other applique. You go slow. All right, you get your scissors right up against that zigzag line. You try to get a little bit of a run going. On those tight curves, you're probably not going to be able to do it, so you're going to have to go clunk, clunk, clunk with your scissors. The other thing, don't worry about too much, is that this zigzags 1.5 millimeters. The satin going over it will be 3 millimeters. So if you don't get exactly perfect of a stitch line or a cut line, the satin should cover minor boo-boos. If you happen to accidentally snip a stitch while you're doing this, don't worry about it. It's a zigzag. All right, there's stitches on each side of it to hold it down. I wouldn't try to cut, 8 or 9 of them in a row, but 1 or 2 snipped stitches will not kill you. You do want to keep this point of your scissors angled a little bit up so you don't catch your base fabric. And that's going to become really important as we put his face and shirt down, because we're going to have 2 layers of applique in some places, and you don't want to catch and accidentally cut a piece of applique fabric you've already gotten down. This is really not that hard. It just takes a little practice and a little time. Go slow until you're sure. All right, kind of keep a positive tension on the fabric you're cutting. Once you're done, we put it back in the machine and run color stop 3 for the dye line for his face. All right, there's our Shaggy, there's our face. That's the dye line for us to do that right there. Put it in the machine and run color stop 4 for your zigzag tack down. And voila, Shaggy has a face. Just like we did with his hair, you are gonna applique trim as close to the zigzag as you possibly can, blurg. All right, I am not gonna show this whole process. The only warnings I've got is remember to keep that bottom tip pointed a little bit up so that you don't grab either your base fabric or that second or that first layer of the applique that you've put down for his hair. Try and get as close to the zigzag as you possibly can without going over. When you're all done, put this back in the machine and run color stop 5 for the dye line for his shirt. And we will be back with that dye line in just a minute. Okie dokie, so now we have the dye line for Shaggy's shirt, and we are just gonna float a piece of green fabric with some SF101 on the back of it right over that. We'll throw it in the machine and we'll run color stop 6. Back in a minute for the trim out. Hey there, guys. Okay, Shaggy's shirt is, he's wearing a shirt. No shirt, no shoes, no service. We're all good. He can get his Scooby snacks now. All right, so you're gonna trim this out, and I'm probably not gonna have you watch me trim this whole thing because boring. But you're gonna throw him back in the machine and you are gonna run color stop 6, which is going to do the satins. It's gonna do all of the satins and the details, and just make this thing really pop. And then 7 is his word in an orangey color. It's zoinks, and it's going to stitch right across his shirt. So go ahead and run 6 and 7 after you've trimmed out his shirt, and I will be back with the complete, woohoo, the complete finished product here in just a little bit. Peace.